So we're going to do BoxLang samples 6. And in multimodality, what we do is that, let's say I want to work with images. And in this example, I can say AI. So you can see, I can start with an AI message. So I'm going to be Fluent and I'm going to say, what's in this image? And then I pipe it to an image method and I pass the entire URL of this image. Here's another message that says, analyze this image in detail. And there's an image, and I can even pass the detail of the image. So I can say image, here it is, in high detail or auto detail or low detail. So auto is the default, low is faster, high is more detail. And then working with PDFs, I can say, summarize this PDF document and pass in the URL of the PDF document. And then it's going to basically analyze that PDF. And then I can mix them. And I can say, compare these images and tell me the differences and pass 2 Fluent images right there, image 1 and image 2. So you can chain and build this nice little message flux and send it into the LLM. And here's a real world image. Hopefully it didn't break. Let's see. Oh, there we go. Those are my dices. Here's a nice image. And this is where it says, AIMessage, system, you're an expert image analyst. User, describe what you see in this image and identify any text. And boom, I send that into AI chat. And there's my response. And here you go. A very detailed response, by the way. Overall scene, the image features a collection of 4 translucent dice, each a different color. So there you go. I have image recognition built in and 3 lines of code. And you can mix and match. So I can say, hey, here's an image, here's a PDF, combine them. Or you know what, attach this image to this other image, et cetera, et cetera. So multimodality, we really wanted to make it extremely easy for you to work with all kinds of things. Now, just to show you that there's all kinds of stuff with multimodality, I'm going to open the BIF here for AIMessage, not the BIF, sorry, the model for AIMessage. And by the way, just a little technical note and geeky note, the majority of BoxLang AI has been built with BoxLang. And here it is. Here's an AIMessage class. And you see that it has different methods. I can say embed audio. I can even embed a document. So this is, I was using links before, but I can actually embed the binary into the request and it'll do it for any LLM. So if we look at the embeds, I can embed an image, embed audio, video, document, or PDF. Okay. So you have a lot of capabilities in BoxLang AI to work with multimodality. All right, we're getting deeper into the hole here. Multi-turn. What is multi-turn? Okay, let's run the multi-turn example. Example 7. Multi-turn conversations. This means that we're going to be building a whole type of conversation list. So here you're going to have a message that starts with the system prompt, a user that says, what is a BIF in BoxLang, an assistant that describes what a BIF is, and then a user that says, give me an example of a common BIF. And then we chat. And then in this example, the conversation is going to be sent to the LLM. I'm going to get a response, and I'm going to use a nifty little BIF in BoxLang called CLI read to get input from the CLI. And I'm going to enter to continue the conversation. And you can see that I add to this conversation my response. And then I'm going to add another user prompt and says, how do I use that BIF in my code? And then it's going to send it to the chat. Right? So right here, you'll see that when I ran it, it says, here's print hello BoxLang. This uses the built-in function. I'm going to press enter. And now it's going to continue the conversation and basically going to build that response and ask my follow-up question, right? So now I'm doing multi-turn, right? Obviously, I don't have memory here. I'm doing it kind of manually, right? But that's kind of how you start, right? If you want something very simple, right, there you go. And it created a bunch of examples here around the follow-up question. So multi-turn, very, very important. All right, little more funky, tooling. So let's look at tooling and let's leave this running. And we really wanted to make it extremely easy for developers to generate real-time tools. And this was thanks to our Jacob Beers developer, awesome dude on the Ortus team, who is in charge actually of the entire BoxLang IDE, by the way. So Jacob introduced the idea of tooling, and you do that with another BIF called AITool. So with AITool, you're basically going to describe what type of real-time tool you want to create. So here I'm saying, hey, I want to create a tool called Get Weather, which is going to have a description, get the current weather for a specific location, and then I just pass in a closure or a lambda. And in this case, I return a hard-coded information. But imagine I could be calling here a web service in order to get the current information for the specific location. In this case, I'm making it up, right? I'm just passing in the location and I'm giving it a specific weather, right? I even describe my parameters so the AI can get more information about what to do with it. And then when I go to chat, I basically say, hey, chat, here's the weather. What's the weather in Boston? Here are some tools for you. So now I've told the chat that here are some tools. And then when I call it, it basically says, here's the weather in Boston. Sunny, temperature 72, humidity, etc. And I even have a Celsius conversion at the bottom. So this is very, very important because I didn't show you the calculator tool just yet. So at the bottom, you'll see that there's a calculator tool. I also create another tool that basically just a very poor man's calculator. I also added Fahrenheit and Celsius to Fahrenheit. And then I basically describe those operations. And then I say to the AI chat, hey, use a calculator. But then I can combine them. And that's what happened at the end. It combined the weather tool with the calculator tool. And then whatever prompt I send, the LLM is smart enough, depending on my prompt, remember, of using those tools. And then it presented the results for me. So it created the 72 degrees Fahrenheit, but it also converted it immediately to Celsius. So you can start to now get more funky with building your AI implementations. So those are chat tools. Let's look at chat streams. So this is just a simple one. I just wanted to show it. And basically you can create a chat stream. So you don't have to do a chat where you sit there and block and wait. You can actually do a nice effect where you're basically going to say, hey, whenever I start getting content, print that content, right? So here I say, tell me a medium joke about programming. And I say chat stream. So here's another BIF now. I'm using AI chat stream, and it's going to start streaming the response as soon as there is some data, right? So as soon as there is some data from the large language model, when it comes back as a server-side event, it's going to start streaming. Now, granted, remember, it's all about what model you're using, how fast it is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But obviously I haven't done a lot, but it's going to come eventually. Eventually it's going to start streaming my response and uploading a bunch of stuff, but we'll let it run. There you go. And now it's streaming the responses and I'm outputting it to the buffer as I get all my responses. There you go. Took a little bit, but finally got there. Then you can get more funky and you can even create nice UX. Remember how now all these tools basically say, hey, I'm thinking, or here is basically the reasoning. Well, all that information is available to you. And this is important. And this is where BoxLang AI shines. You see here that I have the chunking for the AI stream, AI chat stream, this chunk, and this chunk is a BoxLang AI chunk. And this means that it's normalized and it's documented. And that means that all the choices that come in from into the delta, which is basically what's happening, is going to be normalized. So no matter if this is Claude or this is OpenAI or this is Gemini, you don't have to learn the event shapes. You're going to use just the BoxLang AI shape and we normalize it. So here I can say, hey, I'm reasoning, I'm thinking right here, right, etc. So I'm not going to run it, but you can improve the UI as you see fit by using chat streams. Here's one with reasoning. Here's explaining what's happening. You can see that I even have a nice little thinking animation. Well, let's run that one because it's a little interesting. So in this case, it's going to say, explain why the sky is blue in one sentence. And you can see that now the request has been received and the server is already sending me information. So I'm basically saying, hey, I'm still thinking, I'm reasoning on what's going on. And I have the data. I could totally present it here. And then it basically streams the results. So you have all these capabilities. It's up to you how you build your UIs. All right. Message context, hugely important. Let's do a little bit of poor man's rag. So in this case, I want to be able to read some data that I have right here called customers. So basically I do here, hey, I'm going to load my customer database right here. And this is a very poor man's JSON customer database, which has 2 customers. And it also has, actually has 3 customers. And it has a product knowledge. It has a little bit of information about products. So imagine if you're building a sales or a product chat support. Well, you have a database, and in this case, I loaded right here into my context. And then here's the prompt, and I want to look up a specific customer, right? And I say, hey, I want you to look up for this target customer Z001. So obviously, this is my poor man tool, and I can just say, hey, find me that customer. There's that customer. And then I create my message. So here's the interesting bits. I'm going to create an AI message. I'm going to say to the system, hey, you're an AI customer service agent. Use the customer data to personalize your response. Customer context, and you can see that I even do, and let me introduce you to variables. So in AI, if you do the $ squiggly squiggly, those are considered context variables. And BoxLang AI can basically manipulate them at runtime. And here's another one. User, hi, I'm customer name. I need help with my recent order. Can you help? And then I can merge the context. So here's a poor man. Here's where I get some data. I'm going to create the message for the user, and I'm going to inject the customer, which is going to be replaced and merged into this context already, serialized for you in JSON format with the recent activity and the company policies for that specific product. And then I'm even going to do binding parameters. Okay, so you can merge context, which will basically go into the context, which is a special variable, or I can start binding different variables within my messaging. And then I've injected my data, as you can see, and then I just send that message to the chat. So now I've augmented my chat and I'm going to get a response. And I should have actually sent it so you could have seen it instead of you waiting for it now. But here it is. You can see that it loaded the 3 customers, right? It found John. So imagine if somebody was doing a request for John. And then there's my injected data that I'm injecting. And I'm augmenting my message and sending it to the LLM to figure out what John wants and what he needs to do with his support request. And there it is. It tells him, hey, John, hi, John, I can help with that. Here's a quick snapshot of your account. So it augmented it by giving real-time data of his account and then his most recent activity and then the information. So very, very easily, I've created a nice little sales augmentation here.